Joining us on today's episode is Shannon Goggin, CEO and co-founder of Noyo, a passionate innovator and entrepreneur on a mission to build the digital infrastructure necessary to power modern benefits experiences. With over a decade focused on developing technology to tackle meaningful impacts on people's daily lives, Shannon started Noyo to ensure everyone can easily understand and utilize their healthcare benefits. While together, we discussed the inspiration behind Noyo's founding and Shannon's advice for entrepreneurs seeking large-scale change by both envisioning an ideal future state and deeply understanding current real-world constraints. Shannon also explains Noyo's role as a bridge helping antiquated systems adapt to enable much-needed consumer-centric innovation around benefits experiences. Through this pursuit, Shannon aims to eliminate common pain points like surprise bills and improve trust through correct, readily available benefits information. Join us for this exciting look at the data fueling the next generation of benefits. Let's go.
Welcome to Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli, where we highlight and speak with the innovators, the game changers, and the pioneers who are deeply passionate and relentless in solving the problems our world is facing today. This is your opportunity to connect with and learn from these leaders and to support them on their mission. Perhaps they will soon be hearing your story as well. This is Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli. I look forward to having you on this journey with us. Hi, Shannon. A big welcome to our podcast today.
Thank you, Mike. It's great to be here.
Well, given your passion for building technology to work on issues that have a meaningful impact on people's daily lives and the company you co-founded to do exactly this, I can't wait for this conversation today. But before we dive in, a bit of housekeeping. While listening to any of our episodes, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast so you will automatically receive episode updates in your podcast player. Simply search Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Lastly, please visit the bottom of the episode notes to connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter in order to further the conversations occurring on this podcast. All right, Shannon, it's almost time for our community to learn how you and the Noyo team are building the digital infrastructure to power modern benefits experiences with trusted data. But first, what's that one piece of advice that you would give to others who are passionate about reimagining the health of our world?
Well, thanks, Mike. I'm really excited to be here and to have this conversation with you and talking about something as important and as lofty as reimagining the health of our world, which is a big topic. And for any entrepreneur, any person who's working in this space, I think this advice applies to entrepreneurship in general. But my advice is to be able to hold two things at the same time. The first is to really understand and think through what you think the world should look like, ignoring all the constraints of the way the world exists today. If you could redesign it from scratch, if you could wave the magic wand and make it the way you think it should be, what should that actually be and should that feel like? And that can become your North Star, which is so important because building something, changing something, especially in the healthcare system, there's a lot to do, there's a lot to overcome. And so you have to have a really clear vision of where you want to go as your anchor. And then the second piece is you have to understand how the world works today really, really well in order to be able to change it. Because some things are going to be harder to change than others. But if you're driving toward that future vision that's so exciting and you don't know or don't understand how things work today, it's going to be really, really hard to get there. So if you can do both of those things at the same time, you've got a much better shot to make the impact on the world.
Such powerful advice, Shannon. I really appreciate it because it's true, right? I mean, we could look at the opportunity and say, I have the best idea to solve for X in healthcare. But if you don't take in the current constraints that make up the industry, because you know as well as I do, it's a multifaceted industry, right? This isn't just a typical consumer buy and sell, right? You have regulatory, you have payers, you have the providers, you have the patient or the consumer. You have a lot of competing forces. And if you don't know exactly how all of those pieces work in order to make a solution deliver and a product create or service create value in healthcare, it's going to be pretty darn tough to move the needle. But we also need to sometimes, as you mentioned, Shannon, I love it, we have to be unconstrained in our thought process and thinking anew of what is possible. I got to follow up on all of this, Shannon. Is this a type of cultural mindset within the Noyo team? And I know we're going to talk more about Noyo in just a moment, but is this a cultural mindset as well across your team members in your organization on how you want to operate daily as well?
Absolutely. And it's really critical for us being able to do the work that we do, we work with insurance companies, we work with startups who are working on, customers work on very old technology, some of our customers work on very, very new technology, and our job is to help kind of bridge that gap. We actually have a few different operating principles for our company that that are sort of our drumbeat, and two of them reflect these. One is make magic for our users, which is what is the thing that they have wanted that maybe they didn't even know that they wanted, but when they use it, it's the feeling of, oh, this is the way it should work. This is amazing. And then the second one is chart the course. You have to figure out how to get from where we are now to that magic moment. And that's where a lot of the work goes under the hood to figure out, well, what is the best path forward and where are the blocks that we can't get by and where are the ones that we can go up, around, or over.
Well, this is great. You set me up, Shannon. We're not only going to talk about the course that has already been charted to get to today with your organization, how it all came to be. Of course, we're also going to discuss in a moment of the course that you are currently charting for future state as well and where Noyo is going. We're going to unpack all of this and more. I cannot wait for the conversation. We're going to get after it right after we get back from thanking our community champion sponsor.
Located in Denver, Colorado's nationally ranked River North District, Catalyst is a healthcare innovation campus that brings together stakeholders from across the industry to accelerate innovation and drive real, lasting change our nation desperately needs. From established organizations to startups, from accelerators to advocacy organizations, and from medical schools to global companies, everyone at Catalyst works side by side to create, develop, refine, and bring to market cutting-edge innovations that will fundamentally transform healthcare as we know it. With industry leaders like Medical Group Management Association, Olive, Medical Solutions, UC Health, Cirrus MD, and many others calling Catalyst home, along with innovative pioneers visiting from across the nation, Catalyst continually fosters their foundational belief that collaboration and partnerships will move the healthcare industry forward. To virtually tour Catalyst and claim your space on campus or host an upcoming event, visit catalysthealthtech.com or visit the top of the episode notes and click on their link.
All right, we are back with Shannon Goggin, co-founder and CEO of Noyo. Shannon, thank you so much. What a great way to start this conversation, charting the course, making sure you're creating that magic for your end users and your customers. A lot to discuss in regards to exactly that and what's happening within the Noyo camp. Shannon, we're going to first ask, how did this all come to be in the first place? You've been at it now for quite some time as a co-founder and CEO of Noyo. Where did all of this begin in the first place? Then, of course, we're going to take it into current state. Where is the camp in Noyo? What are you guys up to today? What's the good trouble you guys are causing? And then, of course, go a little future state, look into the crystal ball a bit, and then ask how we can be helping you because we have an amazing community rallied around this podcast. So we'll get to that here shortly as well. But first, Shannon, take us back a bit. Let's throw it back. Let's talk about how did this all come to be in the first place? Where do those light bulbs go off? Where are those magic moments that you said, you know what, we need to start this company? How did it all come to be in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. Noyo is a benefits data company, and we believe that everyone should have access to flexible, relevant benefits that are easy to understand and easy to use. And to make that possible, Noyo builds technology that solves the most chronic and deep-seated problem in the industry, which is the need for trusted data. So we work with making sure the right information can get in the right place at the right time. And we power a lot of the modern benefits experiences that people get to use every day with if you get insurance through your employer, you're using some software that handles your payroll, that handles your HR, that handles your benefits. And Noyo is the technology that powers those systems. But you asked, Mike, how we came to this idea. And, in many ways, it's a pretty common tale. We built Noyo because we needed it. I was the founding team of Noyo. We were all working together at a company called Zenefits, which is a benefits HRIS software company. This was almost 10 years ago. And we were building, so Zenefits served small employers, and we were building software to help those employers manage their company, their HR software, their payroll software, their benefits software. And my area of oversight, I was a product manager. I was building out our benefits suite. So how do the employers that were using our software shop for a benefits package? How do they understand what options they have to choose from when it comes to picking a health insurance plan for their staff? And comparing the prices of those plans, comparing the benefits, comparing the doctor, the available doctors that are in the network. really important decisions that an employer is making about the healthcare that their team is going to be able to access. And then once you make that decision, we were also building the software to help the employee understand their options, make their choices. And then ultimately, we were responsible for getting those people enrolled in coverage. And when they went to the doctor and they could get care, that was our job to make sure that there was no lapse in their coverage. And so we were having tons of fun building the user applications, the mobile app and the desktop app that the employee and the employer got to use and shop for. But those products are only useful if they have useful information in them. So if you're trying to shop for flights on Kayak and there's no flight data or the price isn't there, it's not very helpful as a product. And so a lot of our time shifted from thinking about the user experience and designing the actual application flow to how do we actually get people enrolled in insurance? How do we make sure we know what their coverage looks like? How do we more effectively work with the hundreds of insurance companies that we're trying to connect our users with? And that is when we came to the idea for Noyo, which was really, there are so many companies out there that are trying to build better experiences for members, for people who have benefits, to understand what those benefits look like, what they can use through their benefits and make the most of them. And it is exceptionally difficult to do that when you have really no idea what's included in the benefit or how to, make it work behind the scenes. And so we left to build Noyo as the benefits data layer. So we can power all those experiences. We take care of functionally the plumbing under the hood. We can help work with all the insurance companies who don't have great modern technology, but we can really bridge that gap and build some incredible experiences for people behind the scenes.
So before I ask, and appreciate the tee up there, Shannon, but before I ask, give us that elevator pitch. You kind of teed it up a bit already in regards to who Noyo is, but I'm going to ask you just directly, if you had to tee it up in a quick elevator ride, who is Noyo? We're going to go there in just a moment. But first, Shannon, when you were seeing that experience while you're at Zenefits and you said, hey, something else needs to be built, what you just described and why you launched Noyo, how was the competitive landscape? Was it one of those things when you started looking out across the landscape, like no one's doing this? And were you like, why? Like, were there any alarm bells going off? It's like, was this too hard for somebody else to do? Like, what were some of those kind of light bulbs going off when you started doing a scan?
So many people told me this was impossible. People that I really trust and respect and continue to call on to this day. So what we did, we started the company 6 years ago, and the first thing we did was call a lot of people in the industry who we had built relationships with, who were executives at insurance companies, who were software entrepreneurs, who were brokers, who were employers, and just asking them, hey, are these things that we see as problems really big problems for you as well? And just tried to calibrate on how big of a need was this. We had a set of experiences and we wanted to make sure that it was broad enough. And what came back from that was, oh yeah, if you could fix the data, this set of 25 things would be better. And every conversation I had, there was another thing that people wanted us to solve, but all of it came back to the root of the data. And when we looked around and kind of scanned the competitive landscape, you're exactly right. There were not any other companies who were doing what we were trying to do and taking our approach. And yeah, there was the natural question of, okay, so why will you be able to succeed if others have maybe attempted and haven't been able to do it? And our point of view was, we have a unique perspective on how to solve the problem. Our approach is not to, our approach is one of partnership. Our approach is one of, let's get people on the same page about what we're trying to deliver for the end user. And then Noyo is going to build the software that makes it possible. We'll work with what they have today, not against it. And that's helped us get traction. It helped us, very early on. We were able to sign partnerships with major national insurance companies when we were a 5-6 person startup, which is really, really unusual. And so I think part of it was because of our approach and part of it was because of our unique perspective. And a lot of it was because of the software that we were able to build.
Well, obviously you're making some of that perceived impossible that you probably heard early on possible, because you have been at it just over 6 years, which that in and of itself is a huge feat for any startup. You know that as well as I do. So let's go there, Shannon, talking current state. We're jammed into an elevator together. We have 30 seconds. I turn to you. I see your name tag. It says Noyo. Shannon, I ask you, who's Noyo? How are you going to answer?
I love being stuck in an elevator with people where they can't get away from me talking about benefits infrastructure. So great question. With Noyo, we are, as I mentioned, we're a benefits data company. And we believe, our fundamental belief is that benefits data needs to be managed, not just moved from place to place. So what we do is we work with insurance companies to connect to their systems. And then we work with HR and benefits software companies who are administering benefits, have benefits administration as a part of their software or have benefits in their product in some way. And we are the single point of connection for those companies, for the software companies on one side and the insurance companies on the other, to do business with each other and to exchange data and really administer benefits together. So functionally, we're taking care of the plumbing behind the scenes so that, HR software companies can deliver really amazing product experiences for the employees and the employers that they serve.
And how, living in between those two big camps, how has the feedback been from either side? Is like, oh, where have you been all my life, to I can't believe this doesn't make any sense. Like, is it good? Is it bad? Is it ugly? Like, what is that feedback that you do receive now that you're 6+ years in? You mentioned early on you signed some big partnerships. How has that feedback been from those end users?
I think a lot of it initially when we start talking about it with people is that sounds too good to be true. And functionally for people, just to kind of make this a little bit more tangible, if you get a new job and on the first day of work, your employer says, hey, you can browse your benefits offering here and you can make your selection for your family. So you come in and you say, okay, I'm looking at the gold plan or the PPO, the HMO, and I got a couple of dependents, and you make your selections, click, 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 save, and you're expecting to get enrolled in insurance. Without Noyo, that is happening from people filling out paperwork. That information is getting transcribed onto a PDF and emailed to the insurance company or faxed in many cases.
You used a foreign word, fax. What's that? Welcome to healthcare, right?
There's an even older piece of software or a piece of technology that's also powering these, which is these flat files from, almost 50 years ago that are still being used to run a lot of how data is moved between these insurance companies, for software people and for any end user person who lives in this country and who gets insurance and has benefits. It seems just so antiquated because even the banking infrastructure on the financial services side has come a long way. There's a long way to go. I have a lot of, fintech entrepreneur friends as well. They've got their work cut out for them too, but benefits and insurance is even further behind. And so with Noyo, we take that request through an API and we're able to make the change directly in the insurance company's system, usually without anyone ever having to look at it, because the software can validate the data, it can transform it, it can enrich it as needed and put it where it needs to be. And then we're checking the status of your coverage along the way to make sure I signed up for the coverage today. Is it going to be 3 weeks before I can go to the doctor? Is it going to be 1 day? And Noyo is making that dramatically faster, the process, but we're also giving you visibility into where your coverage is throughout the scene. So to answer your question, a lot of times it's too good to be true. And then usually the first time someone experiences it is, wow, I can't believe that just worked. And the possibilities for what someone could do with that data or with that type of technology, we see people's brains turning and the product thinking in them gets excited. Oh, I could build this feature for my user. I could build that feature for my user. And that's really my favorite part, is working with our customers on what do you want to build? And then let me figure out how the tech works to make it possible for you to build it.
So that's one of the questions I want to ask for the layperson that's tuning in and learning about this space from you, Shannon. When you say that, hey, we're somewhat of the plumbing underneath it all, what does that mean for a 2-person startup? Or does that mean the same thing for a Fortune 500 that might want to use this? Are they able to take what you have and build technologies, build applications on top? For the layperson that's tuning in, what does that all mean for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we work with startups of 2 people, 10 people, and we work with, Fortune 500 companies. And we work with insurance companies who are working on very outdated technology. We help them connect what the systems that they do have today into our software so that they become much more tech-enabled. So we can work with anyone, whatever your tech stack looks like, whatever you're trying to build. If you're building software in the benefits space, please call me.
We got somebody to help you out. Noyo's the team. Give them a call. I love it. And Shannon, because you mentioned earlier, and that's why I asked it, I figured as much that this is a very difficult problem to solve. No one was out there really doing it because people thought it was a very difficult and or an impossible problem to solve. Now that you guys are obviously proving it out, having success 6+ years in, Shannon, did you ever receive any feedback from these large established, I'm going to use the word monolith, if you will, these insurance players in the industry said, no, we don't need you. We've been doing it for quite some time. We're good, i.e., right, status quo. We hear that in healthcare all the time. Did you receive that initial feedback? And then did you convert any of those constituents and they're like, oh my God, this was an absolute game changer for us, again, on the insurance side?
Yeah. So on the insurance company side, absolutely. And a lot of it was things that we talked about in those early calls I was making to my contacts, asking them, what are the problems you're talking about at the executive team level at your insurance company? And is data a problem? And how does it stack? And so often we would hear, I would say there's kind of two main camps. There were almost everyone agreed that this is a problem. And the problem shows up in poor service issues for members. So, you get a lot of complaints from people about their insurance, very low NPS industry. I go to the doctor, I get the surprise bill. I'm really frustrated by that. It took me 8 weeks to get my insurance card in the mail. I'm frustrated by that. The employer has to spend 6 months doing project management to set up an old file feed, and that's not what they should be doing. So all those things they're used to, and they can trace that back to, it's hard for us to move data around without getting people involved. So I think that was a pretty universally understood challenge. And then the quality of the data that is getting moved around every time another person touches it, it gets degraded because it's
human nature.
Natural. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. And so, but there were definitely, and still are, some insurance companies that we talk to who say, look, I don't know how to make the change. It's too big of a transition. And so that status quo that you're talking about is rarely do we have anyone say, you know what, we're good. We like our process. We're going to keep that for the next 50 years. But more often it's, we just don't know how to get there from here. And so we've actually, over the last year, started working really in a very disciplined manner with a lot of insurance companies to really guide them through the process. No matter what their technology looks like, we work with insurance companies that are on mainframes, and we work with insurance companies who have fantastic APIs that we can build with. It doesn't matter to us. We can make a really great experience for them, no matter what their tech looks like. But what we do that by is saying, hey, we have a really strong point of view on what a great member experience looks like. And so we're going to take you through it step by step, and we're going to look at how your system and your capabilities, your operational practices work today to deliver on that experience and show you where you kind of rate on each of those elements, and then what work we need to do together to get you to a better place. And that makes it a lot easier and more tangible for them to understand, how could we move forward? And then we can actually create a little roadmap together that we can execute against.
Perfect. And so you mentioned those are those roadmaps. Those are kind of some of those talking points or some of the things that you bring up to those constituents about today. So let's go to tomorrow as well, right? Because things are continuing to change and change rapidly, which I am all about. So what does it look like in the next 2 to 3, 3 to 5, beyond 5 years? What does the space look like? Where are we going to be, Shannon? And then, of course, where is Noyo going to be as well in that future state? What should we be looking forward to?
Everything that we talk about, we always anchor around the member experience. So that's you can call it the employee, you can call it the member, call it the person. That's me, that's you, that's anyone who's listening who needs to go to the doctor. And often I think in the conversation about healthcare, health tech, not just benefits and insurance, which is where we really spend a lot of our time, but I think in healthcare more generally, and Mike, you talk with lots of people and you can tell me if you agree with this, but I think the member experience gets lost a lot in it. It feels very disconnected from the business decisions that are being made every day, which tend to be made more about what's my IT budget, or what's my operational staffing model, or what's my margin that I'm trying to make. And when that gets too disconnected from the member experience, I think, again, kind of going back to what we talked about at the beginning, that's your North Star. I want to go to the doctor and I just don't want to get a surprise bill. I work in this space. This is my full-time career for more than a decade now. I have questions about my bills. I don't always know what my coverage status is. And that's like, imagine the average person who's going through it, the stress when you are going through a health issue that you're then put under to have to also try to read and decipher an 85-page PDF that's got massive financial implications while you're going through this really important health and care issue is just, to me, that's what I wake up every day trying to solve for. And so when we're talking with our customers, whether it's an insurance company or if it's a benefit software company or anyone else that we work with, brokers, we're always anchoring around the future benefits experience should feel really connected. It should feel really easy. You should be able to have a question and answer the question. At the core, you should feel covered by your insurance coverage. And you should have the confidence that when you need to use it, it's going to be there for you and have the things that you need. And so, I spend all day working in data cleaning and enrichment and all that stuff, which is, fun. And when we're trapped in an elevator, I'll make you listen to all the details. But I think really what it comes back down to is we just want that person's experience when they're using their benefits to be easy. And you can't do that if you don't have the information that you need. And that's what data is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that, Shannon, in regards to roadmap, is this an area, what you discussed today, is this where you guys are going to be? Do you see expanding out into other offerings or services? What does it look like in regards to the product roadmap or offering, and who Noyo will be in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so where Noyo focuses today is really on the fundamental pieces of what we call policy administration. So this is if you are an employer and you offer benefits to your employees, which I hope you all do, then there's parts of the process you need to shop for a plan and sign your company up for insurance as a company, get that set up. Then you need to let all of your staff understand their options, make their selections, and enroll. Then you need to renew that plan at the end of the year and help them go through their annual open enrollment process. And then throughout the year, you need to be making sure that their coverage is up to date, that you're making any changes when you hire someone, when someone has a baby or a life event, or they move. All of those changes need to be processed. So that is where Noyo focuses right now. So we've got solutions that handle each step of that policy administration process from top to bottom. And that is really, really impactful and important because it lets people automate a lot of the work that goes into just making sure someone can go to the doctor. It also means that we're making sure that this kind of core piece of information is up to date and correct and trusted. And that is the person's enrollment record. So what is your coverage? When did you sign up for it? What do you have? How much are you paying for it? Those things are pretty basic, but you can't believe how wrong they can be from if you have 4 or 5 different insurance companies that your coverage is with, you have a payroll system for your employer, you've got a benefits administration software, you've got a broker. I promise you that data is not correct in all of those places. And so the first part that Noyo takes care of is we tighten all that up and we make sure that's all really easy to use and correct. Where we go from there is where I get really excited because once you have that dialed in, we're building, and we are already starting to do this, we're building a bunch of other products on top of that foundation, which are really valuable. So, how do you think about understanding compensation structures, premiums, payments, commissions for brokers, and a whole bunch of analytics and insights about what is the type of coverage that someone is using and where are they best suited to get that coverage? And that sort of analysis at a macro level is just incredibly powerful for people who are trying to build better experiences.
Very exciting future state. I love it. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Shannon. So we'll put the crystal ball back on the shelf for now. We'll bring it back to current state. Want to be able to open up the opportunity for our community to help rally around you and Noyo. So we're going to ask you, hey, what's one problem, need, or question that you have that our community can be helping you with?
So first is if you are building in the benefits space, even if you're not building a benefits administration platform today, if you're building a benefits administration platform, you should absolutely call us if we're not already talking. But if you're building anything in the benefits space, if you've got an idea in your mind, whether you're an insurance company trying to get better connected with your members, with your end users, or you're a startup, or on the benefits software side of things, or payroll, HR software side of things, and you just want to build a product experience that has benefits in it, I really would love to talk to you about it. Everything we do at Noyo is to make it easier for you to build. And so when we talk about that future state where we're going, the more people I can spend time with, the more people who are trying to build that I can work with them and try to figure out how we can best support you is going to be really helpful in us accelerating and building the things that are most valuable for our ultimate mission.
Well, for our community members that want to take you up on that exact offer, how do they get a hold of you, Shannon? Social media handles, contact points, online websites, or otherwise? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. Email me, future@noyo.com or shannon@noyo.com. You can find me in either place. And we're on Twitter @NoyoHQ. I'm at Twitter @Shannon C. Goggin. And I would really love to hear from everyone who's listening and talk shop.
Easy enough. And for our listening community, just simply scroll on down in your favorite podcast player where you're tuning in at this episode. You can find all those contact points in the episode notes, or you can head over to our free global online community over at passionatepioneers.com. There will be a post for Shannon's episode and an area for leaving comments, feedback, suggestions, or otherwise, and to find all of those contact points for Shannon and the team. Again, over at passionatepioneers.com. All right, Shannon, we're almost done. We got one more piece for you, and then we'll get you back so you can continue to cause all that good trouble at Noyo. We have a fill in the blank for you. I'm a passionate pioneer because...
Can't think of any other way to be.
I absolutely love it. Well, it absolutely came through this conversation today, Shannon. You and the team are fired up. I love the story. Cannot wait to continue to follow everything happening within the Noyo camp. Keep us posted. We may have to do a Where Are They Now episode as we continue to follow the Noyo journey. But for now, Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of the good things happening in the Noyo camp with our community. Again, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Mike. This was fun.
Thank you for joining us today on Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli. We'd love to hear your feedback about the podcast so we can continue to improve this community and to further support the pioneers being featured. Lastly, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast and invite your friends and colleagues to join us. This is Passionate Pioneers with Mike Biselli. I look forward to having you back with us during our next episode.